Now that we've created all our validators, we're able to move on and start actually creating our form. But before we do, I'd like to mention a few things. The first thing I'd like to do is actually clean up this. This variable name is really not good. I'm going to call this one result. I think that's a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to update these two. Because we have our tests, we can be confident everything is still working. The tests are still passing. The next thing I noticed is if we take a look at this isBetween validator and jump down here, we can see this ultimately is going to return valid true right down the bottom. So what we can actually do is make a refactor up here. What I'm going to do is just delete this check here, delete this bottom check, and we can just directly return isBetween. And this is going to do all the correct validation for us. If we save this off, we can see our tests are still going to pass, or apparently they're not going to pass because we forgot to return this. Look, lucky we have our test there to protect us. Now everything is still passing. The other thing I'd like to mention is how I've set all my validators up. I always do the negative case first, or the kind of like the invalid case first. You can see I've done that here. I've also done it down here. And then for my final validator, which is actually up the top, I believe, one moment, no, it's down here. I've done the exact same thing here. This is kind of a personal philosophy I do. I like to do all the early returns and checks first, and then have the ultimate happy case down the bottom. I find it leads to less buggy code, but this is just a personal preference. It's really up to you how you'd like to do things. The final thing I'd like to mention is we are building a Vue application to validate forms. However, we haven't opened a browser yet, nor have we actually installed Vue, and there's a good reason for this. I like to do things this way and write all my business logic first because it really forces me to separate my UI concerns and my business logic, and by doing this there's absolutely no chance I accidentally mix them up because I haven't even installed Vue. There's literally no way I could accidentally mix my Vue UI concerns with my business logic. With that in mind, we're going to move on to the next lecture and start building out the actual patient form, and finally we're going to install Vue and actually start building out our UI.